Rurouni Kenshin is the story of Kenshin Himura, a former top-ranking assassin called the Battousai during the Bakumatsu Revolution in Japan. Several years later, the country has changed and Kenshin has made a vow to never be the manslayer again. With a scar across his cheek and a katana with the blade facing him and not his opponents, he does everything in his power to make up for the pain and death he caused in his past.
Through Kenshin's actions and his deeds, the question is asked, what is the penance of guilt?
A giant theme of the series as a whole is the power of actions. Kenshin's actions, both as the Battousai and as a protector, even to his enemies and allies. With each action comes an effect that hits everyone differently. From the kind Kaoru wishing for nothing more than to make the world better with her kendo school, to the sadistic Shishio's plan to destroy Japan, all of them are affected by the actions of Kenshin.
Kenshin's trademark sword, once used for killing as the manslayer, was broken and reforged into a blade that reflects himself, with the blade facing towards him instead of another, and the blunt art facing out to remind him that there's always another option to killing. Despite the horrors and atrocities he's committed, he always faces his ultimate enemy, himself.
Both Kenshin and Shishio are burdened with the permanent scars from their past. In Shishio's case, he was set on fire and left for dead for joining a group of anti-government extremists. Letting the pain of the burns, oil, and fire consume his morals, wanting nothing more than to inflict more pain in return. In contrast, Kenshin was given his first scar in an assassination from a dying soldier and the other from the woman he loved, dying in his arms to remind him not to kill again.
Despite all the misdeeds from the past, Kenshin's atonement is never really given a definitive answer. Constantly, he'll find people who recognize him for who he was, not by his image, but instead by his legendary swordsmanship. All of his friends and loved ones, however, simply know him as Kenshin. He's done nothing but been a good person to them. Despite some of them learning of his past, they see him now, and his desperation for atonement.
All of Rurouni Kenshin has moments of impact, not just battles, but interactions from characters, whose good and bad characteristics are relatably simple. The guilt that Kenshin associates with the deaths he caused are just as permanent as the deaths themselves. Feeling that with good deeds he will counterbalance the bad ultimately is fruitless, because guilt is a construct for each person to discover what is right and wrong. The blade is not what determines a person, the person determines what the blade cuts.
So what is the penance of guilt? Ultimately, there really is no concrete answer.
It depends on who and what that person is guilty of and why.
But in the end,
these aren't answers.
They
They
are
are hypertheticals.
I just killed my best friend.
And your worst enemy.
Same difference.
If this were like a suicide thing, you know?
Like a suicide thing?
Look, something happened, Hannah. And I believe you. But if you won't confront him, then the only other choice is to move on.
Yeah. That's just what I'm gonna have to do.